Good morning. Welcome to Coffee Talk. So today actually is our last day in Proverbs, and we are looking at Proverbs 31:10 through 31. So let me just read the description here of that, and then we'll just read it as a whole. Proverbs 31 is set in the form of an acrostic. So if we were reading in Hebrew, it would be, would go in the Hebrew alphabet. So it's a really, nice poem that way. The acrostic portrays an ideal woman and shows young men what kind of woman to seek for in marriage. The poem begins and ends in the same way, with the value of an excellent wife. However, the woman's marital status is not the primary emphasis of the acrostic. She is a portrait of feminine wisdom. She embodies in all areas of life the full character of wisdom commended in Proverbs. So as I'm reading this as a whole, and then we'll kind of break it apart, the question is there anything that surprises you? All right, let us begin. An excellent wife, who can find? She is far more precious than jewels. The heart of her husband trusts in her, and he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and not harm all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax and works with willing hands. She is like the ships of the merchant. Try that compliment. It doesn't work that well, Bill. She brings her food from afar. She rises while it is yet night and provides food for her husband and portions for her maidens. She considers a field and buys it. With the fruit of her hands she plants a vineyard. She dresses herself with strength and makes her arms strong. She perceives that her merchandise is profitable. Her lamp does not go out at night. She puts her hands to the distaff, and her hands hold the spindle. She opens her hand to the poor and reaches out her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of snow for her household, for all her household are clothed in scarlet. She makes her bed coverings for herself. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. Her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. Once again, this is Bill. She makes linen garments and sells them. She delivers sashes to the merchant. Strength and dignity are her clothing, and she laughs at the time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. She looks well to the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children shall rise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many women have done excellently, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty is in vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Give her the fruit of her hands, and let her works praise her in the gates. All right, anything surprise you about this time around, reading it and hearing it in whole? Does anyone know, and I was reading this, and it didn't catch me the first time, this is absolutely not deep at all. What does it mean that she puts her hands to the distaff? What's a distaff? Does anyone want to Google that on their phone real quick? Because I'm sure in a different translation it's a little more understandable. Sometimes the ESV throws in a word that's just like, oh, come on.
That verse 19.
Yeah.
Mine has, she extends her hands to the spinning staff, and my note is that she's responsible for the family's clothing.
Oh, okay, so maybe it's like a way to weave. All right. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What translation is yours, NIV?
No, Christian Standard.
Cool, all right. Anything else stick out?
First time I read it, not the first time, but the last time I read it, what stuck out to me was the financial responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Like I always thought it was like a stay-at-home mom who took care of the
Mm-hmm.
family and cooked
Yeah.
food and organized and stuff, but not necessarily carried any financial responsibility.
Yeah, she's looking at the field. She's buying it.
Yeah.
She's like a ship for a merchant.
But everything that she does financially is supporting the household too, like
Yeah.
directly. It's like part of her household duties.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
not taking her away from husband.
We'll look at this later, Beth. This was an interesting. She laughs at the time to come. I thought that was kind of a cool line. We'll look at that later, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But all right, well, let's break it apart. Verse 11. The heart of her husband trusts in her, and he will have no lack of gain. So in what ways, it's kind of obvious, but in what ways does the poem, and does the woman in this poem depict a wife who can be trusted? What makes her trustworthy?
I think she has a servant heart.
Servant heart. I'm thinking about some of the what we've talked about in wisdom, because that's when you connect it to the rest of Proverbs, the things of what makes a fool and what makes somebody wise. I look at that field part. She doesn't just go and buy a field; she considers it. So she's doing things in a thoughtful and wise way, as opposed to just being like, look, a field, let me buy it. That kind of, she's definitely she's wisdom personified. We'll talk about this at the end, but even verse 30, a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. So she's trustworthy because she fears the Lord in a good way. She trusts in Him. She knows that her life is in His hands. And so that alone makes her quite trustworthy. All right, Proverbs 31:15 through 18. Let me read that again. She rises while it is yet night and provides food for her household and portions for her maidens. Do any of you ladies have maidens with you? I guess. Okay. She considers a field and buys it. With the fruit of her hand, she plants a vineyard. She dresses herself with strength and makes her arms strong. And yes, that is talking about doing some slight resistance exercises. That stops at 18. She perceives that her merchandise is profitable. Her lamp doesn't go out at night. So what teaching from Proverbs is seen in this depiction of the woman as active before sunrise till long after sundown? This is something you come across again and again in the book of Proverbs that's being exemplified by this woman.
It's the opposite of the sluggard.
Yeah, she's the opposite of a sluggard. She puts her, she works. And so my question, and this is the one I question for women only, because I didn't want men to say this. Are there any unique ways, and this is just curious, women may be tempted to be a sluggard? So there are differences between men and women. Sluggard is some.
Sluggard.
What? Yeah. So sluggard is somebody slothy. What are the unique ways that a woman might be tempted to be lazy? Because a dude is like playing video games. I don't know. But what might be a unique way or temptation that for a woman might be different than for a man?
Maybe watching soap
Soap operas.
Locking yourself in the bathroom, just take a bath, some peace and quiet.
No, I mean I've never. As a husband, I haven't really witnessed my wife be sluggardy. Just in case she watches this, because I try to think about that. I'm like,
watch how you pronounce that.
yeah, slugger. But I was just thinking, what is a way that a woman might be tempted to be a slothy?
That's interesting because when I think about being lazy for a day, it's usually just doing something that I want to do instead of something I have to do. But it's not.
That's not. Yeah.
It's like maybe doing a project that's waiting to get done.
But that's also, it's okay to be rejuvenated like a sluggard would be. I'm just not going to do it today, and more of like a continual state of mind and attitude. I'm trying to remember a couple of those good ones that we looked at so far.
Sometimes you just need a new day.
Yeah.
When you're doing.
Yeah, that's not that. Yeah. Yeah, that's not what the sluggard is describing. I wish I could find that passage that we looked at a couple weeks ago that perfectly and quickly did it. It's going to take me a second. It was on this side.
Somebody else is doing.
And that's why I think that's why you don't see too many women sluggers. I don't think.
Even if your husband offers to do the dishes, he's like, think it's good to something else, because I'm not gonna sit and watch you work.
Ah, found it. All right. So this is the sluggard. Again, this is continual behavior, not like a day off. The sluggard buries his hand in his dish. They ate with their hands, and will not bring it back to his mouth. Strike a scoffer, then the simple will learn prudence. Reprove a man of understanding, and he gains knowledge. There's more sluggard. That must have been a. So sluggard is like the person that's like, oh, I can't even bring my fork to the mouth. This is so burdensome. Or like in another spot, I can't quote it offhand, but it's like, there's too much danger out there. I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to fail anyways. That's kind of what the sluggard is.
I'm not sure that's in a woman's DNA.
Yeah. Like, forgive me. The only thing I can think of is like what was the Atlanta Housewives? That's the only thing I could think of when I think of a sluggard and a woman. Remember those shows, the ones that like married rich football players? Like that's the only thing that I can think of when I think of a sluggard and a woman together. That's it. Like it's easy to think of a dude, but it's not. It's a lot harder. Where's the other ones here? But I still love that one. The sluggard buries his hand in his dish. And, oh.
Feel entitled.
Yeah.
There are women that are entitled that aren't like rich like the housewife.
Yeah.
I have some friends that remain nameless that they're very happy.
I'll turn it to you.
Yeah. They're happy with their husband's cook and work all day. And
So Hobie, if you have any examples, feel free to share them with us by email, and just CC all of us on that. Yeah, I can't find the other passage. All right, next one. I gotta say, how have you dealt with this in your own life? Obviously, you ladies are fine. So, all right, 31:16. Oh, I've already lost my place. 31:16. She considers a field and buys it. With the fruit of her hand, she plants a vineyard. I think I already accidentally answered that one. So from the poem on all, overall, identify 2 or 3 things that are the basis for, what am I writing there? What might, I don't know what I was writing there. So let's just skip that question. 21 through 25. Yeah. She is not afraid. Oh, I went ahead by accident. That's the mess up. Hold on. Oh, this is embarrassing. It happens. All right, so we're going to read 21 through 25, and we're going to answer that question. She is not afraid of snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet, or it could be double thickness is also what the Hebrew could be translated there. She makes bed coverings for herself. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. Her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them. She delivers sashes to the merchant. Strength and dignity are her clothing, and she laughs at the time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of her kindness is on her tongue. So now going back to for the poem overall, identify 2. So this woman, she has confidence. She is depicted as a woman who's confident. Identify 2 or 3 things that are the basis for her confidence. Because if you look at it, she's laughing at the winter, where a woman who might not be confident is like, I don't know how we're going to make it through this winter. So why can she have such confidence to laugh at the future and that sort of thing? Are you following? Because I did really mess up those 2 questions.
She has confidence in seeing she can make money off the vineyards if she buys the land.
Yeah, she considers things well. Yeah.
I have 2 things written down.
Yeah.
I have prudence and circumspect.
Yeah.
Prudence for exercising sound judgment, and circumspect being able to see.
Thank you. I didn't know what circumspect meant there. So I knew note in context, but it wasn't. I'd say there's an amount of skill too. I mean, she knows she knows how to use the distaff. I don't know how to use the distaff, neither does Kendra. So I guess my question today, again for the women, is what might that confidence look like today? Because obviously we don't fear the winter the same way that they did back in the day, but what might that confidence look like today for a Proverbs 31 woman? What? Budgeting. I think she buy jeans. I'm like, oh wow. She buys jeans for her children. They're always in style.
Budgeting, meal planning.
Yeah, I like budgeting. Yeah, living within the means, being wise with your stuff. Yeah. Let's say maybe, with that not having more than she needs, but having enough to make it through and being confident that what she, and trusting in the Lord with what she has.
Avoiding that instant gratification.
Oh yeah. This is not a backhand brag at my wife, but when I went for my first job, and he was being serious. I had the long hair and I was kind of overweight, and I didn't look like a great person. And so they hired me as the youth pastor, and the head pastor said, he's like, the only reason we hired you was because of your wife. He's like, 'cause at first I didn't know about you. He was joking, but I think he was being a little serious because he thought I was just this dirty hippie. And he said, when I saw your wife, it was like we knew you were okay. So I think there's a joke, but I think there's so that was my version of where are we at here? My husband being known, her husband being known at the gates. Yeah, So that's where that came from. By the way, it was kind of a modern version of that. All right, let me see if I screwed up here, because I think this is where. All right, the woman is. Okay, actually, this is sort of a cluster of things. Okay, so the woman in the poem exemplifies nurturing. No matter what the task she is involved in, her primary aim is nurture of other. So she provides food for those in her home, including the servants or the maidens. She extends her hand to the poor and needy, and she watches over the ways of her household. So how is this nurturing aspect of her character demonstrated in her words? Let me find it. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. How is this nurturing aspect of her character demonstrated in her words? I think one thing I noticed, it's all not all for others, but a lot. It's for others. She's not opening her mouth just to make look being smart or wise, but it's to give wisdom to others. It's to give kindness to others. That's kind of what sticks out to me there about that answer to that question.
That's my footnote I just read says in teaching of kindness.
Huh.
Is another word.
Yeah, I like that. She's nurturing. Yeah. All right, so 29 through 30 to finish up the Proverbs woman here. Many women have done can you somebody pronounce that for me? Excellently. Am I saying that? Yeah.
Excellently.
I am saying it right. It, for some reason, it doesn't want to come out of my mouth. Many women have done excellently, but you surpass them all. Excellently.
Lizzie Borden or what?
Sorry, somebody else read this. Somebody else read this. There's certain words I can't get out, and that's one of them. Hopefully I never have to read this out loud in front of the church. Somebody else take this. All right, many women have done excellently.
There you go.
Excellently, thank you. One more time, excellently. All right, many women have done excellently, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty is in vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Give her the fruit of her hands, and let her works praise her in the gates. And I love that Proverbs finishes it off with the ladies, and then Proverbs is done. But think about the rest of Proverbs. How does this tie this poem of womanly excellence into the rest of Proverbs? Everything we learned so far. For example, how does Proverbs pretty much begin?
I missed too many weeks.
That's okay. That's okay. I'll start. So Proverbs begins with the words, pretty much after it gives a little intro into what wisdom is. It begins with the words. Then this is the thesis statement for Proverbs. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise women. So then pretty much the whole book of Proverbs is showing what that looks like in action, or what the not looking like in action, or whatever. And then it finishes off with this woman saying she fears the Lord. The woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. So I mean, she's pretty much just the womanly explanation, or I can't think of the right word, but she's the womanly example of what that looks like. So then, you as a woman you as women, I'm sorry, Bill, can look at this and say, well, then the rest of Proverbs applies to me as well, because it does. And I think that's pretty. When you think about the culture this was written to, that's wonderfully. That's cool. And so this is something I read in one of my commentaries. I think it's important because sometimes this can be. This particular proverb can be used in a moralistic sense, like, well, you need to be like the Proverbs 31 woman. But the truth is, some of this stuff is out of reach. The woman being depicted as one of significant means in the ancient world. I mean, not every woman was able to go around and purchase a field or plant vineyards. However, verse 29 through 31 are universal. And so, what is being said here makes sort of what you see in the rest of the stuff, you can apply it to different areas. So whatever a woman's lot is in life, in fearing the Lord, she will have a firm foundation to faithfully go about her vocations. And so when I try to look at this, how might this poem look differently if the woman's lot was one of poverty? Because wise people, can be born into poverty, or, what might that look like, if she could not have the finest linen for her children, or maidens, or that sort of thing. That makes sense? I was just trying to imagine that. Like, what would the Proverbs 31 woman look like, One thing that hit me is just, you would definitely still be living in the means, being resourceful with what you have.
I don't think much would change other than the quality of the items. That
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Because, like you said, it comes down to fear of the Lord and being disciplined and responsible. And
Yeah.
that really doesn't waver throughout economic levels.
I like that. That's a good answer. The examples, might be different. Yeah. She buys Walmart coffee for her husband. Yeah, that sort of thing.
Oldies.
Yeah, oldies, yeah. All right, and then how do you imagine a typical working woman today exuding the virtues of this poem? So it was easy for me to think of, the way Kendra does. Kendra's technically a working woman, but before, I mean that nicely, but she was a stay-at-home mom, and she still is to the most degree. Like, she works at the preschool and she does like a part-time job with an organizing business. But I was trying to think of how might your typical working woman today, let's say like a 9 to 5, exemplify virtues of this poem, or exude the virtues of this poem, as I so beautifully wrote. If you need some coffee, we got coffee. Oh, all right, good thinking. Stay properly hydrated up there. And say not let the. Oh, sorry, you
I was
guys.
just gonna say, I think you keep your family as a priority.
Yeah.
I don't wanna say first, because like you said, it still goes back to the
Yeah.
fear of the Lord and, that, but if you're working in order to provide for your family versus to buy yourself
Yeah.
some things, or, what I mean?
Yeah. Still be generous, reach out to the needy. Clothe her household with fine scarlet. Yes. All right, well, that is the Proverbs 31 woman in a nutshell. Is there anything that else you want to talk about with that?
I'll give you a little help.
Thank you.
29, if you're having difficulty, mine says, done noble deeds.
What?
You can change your translation to.
Oh, thank you. She done their noble deeds, but you didn't surpass them all. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, that's the problem. I never realized all my life I said excellent wrong. It's excellent. What the? There's a little speech impediment in me that comes out in certain words. Like, I should have received speech therapy when I was a kid, probably. Worship was a hard one for me, and I actually had to work hard to get that out of my mouth right.
Yeah, that's one disease I just can't comprehend. People have dyslexia.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine living like that.
Yeah.
Seeing words and letters backwards and whatever. That's just.
Yeah. All right, flip over. We just, and we don't have to answer these questions, but if you want to, you can. Because I know it's kind of hard to be here every Sunday. Reflecting on our journey through the book of Proverbs, is there anything that gave you a fresh grasp of who God is, who you are, and how you might live faithfully? For me, something that kept on coming back again and again is, I almost used to read Proverbs as a just wise stuff, but really it's just a practical application of the law. That's how obvious. It's so obvious that you miss it, but it really is that. And so it's kind of neat to read it that way, because it's kind of like almost a sermon to some degree, where it's taking what was written in the law and saying, this is how this looks in your day-to-day life. And I like that. But it also gave me when I fail to match up to Proverbs, then it's not it's not so much as I'm acting unwisely. It becomes a repentance issue. And so if I'm being a sluggard, which is one of my primary sins, that's something I need to turn away from and turn to God for forgiveness and pray for, that sort of thing. And so it really both made it practical, but also put it in the bigger scheme of, all right, if I'm not matching up to some of these pictures, then I need to come to God for forgiveness. And so it gave me both a good way to measure myself, but also a good way to come to Jesus. Gave me some come to Jesus moments.
A lot of times we think Proverbs are like our little fortune cookies.
Yeah.
That makes them much more personal.
Yeah. Unique contributions. Are there any unique contributions Proverbs makes toward our understanding of who Jesus is and what he accomplished through his life, death, and resurrection? I think the one thing is, how the whole understanding of wisdom and how Jesus is wisdom personified. So you can kind of hear Jesus whispering throughout all of Proverbs about this is the way. Don't turn from it. And so Jesus kind of gives you the a lot of the words used in Proverbs were echoed by Christ in his describing of himself, and so it gives you a neat way to read that. Skip that implications. We kind of already talked about that. And this is sort of what I talked about too. What might lead you to praise God, turn away from sin, and trust more firmly in his promises. When you think about Proverbs as a whole, what might lead you to praise God, turn away from sin, and trust more fully in his promises? I kind of gave the second one there. Oh, yeah, there you go. Beautiful. I'm thinking, one thing I was thinking when I just read this question, now what popped in my head was, sometimes when you're walking, the trying to walk in wisdom, it's hard, and you don't see the fruit of it. You definitely don't see the fruit of it right away. And so, Proverbs gives you the full picture to some degree. It's not that you're instantly going to, rise up and be called blessed by being a Proverbs 31 woman. I always love that. I don't know why. Just the way they talk sometimes, but it gives you this is the way ultimately in God's economy, just in general, this does lead to life this way. Here are some examples. It may not happen right away. It may not happen till eternity, but trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding, and he will make your path straight, as Proverbs says. And praise God. I think it's just praise God for how his universe works, and for the wisdom, and for all the wise people that have taught me along the way. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns?
I see a lot of, praises, things going well.
Yeah.
things going well, but then when things go bad, it's the big why. You know?
Yeah.
You know, when tragedies happen, when that's when I struggle with.
Yeah.
You know, why can things go so well, and then heartbeat, it's friend, relative,
Yeah.
acquaintance, and someone you don't even know but read about, just like it's just I mean, I always ask me why does this happen?
Yeah.
Is there that much devilish in, because it seems like our society is more devil than God anymore.
That might be a good spring topic or next semester. But like that might be a good. I don't know what you do. Like like almost. Where does walking faithfully when everything is backwards and everything. That does include praise, but it includes other things too. Well, let's say ways really nicely. Actually, let me turn this off.